hit record so I don't forget.
Mhm.
Okay, so all right, let's get started. So, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Jennifer Butler. I'm the director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion for the College of Business and Analytics here at SIU. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I want to welcome everyone to our event entitled Stories of Impact: The Business of Bento Boxes During the Pandemic. So, thank you for joining us. I've got just a few announcements and then we'll get to the good stuff. So first off, today's event is co-sponsored by the Southern Illinois Culinary Club, and we have two of the executive board members here working as virtual co-hosts. We have Jakayla Sharon, apologies if I don't get your names right, who is a sophomore majoring in business management with a specialization in entrepreneurship. She's the social media manager for the Culinary Club, and her walkout song is Woman by Doja Cat. And then we have Madison Bauer here, who is a junior majoring in human nutrition and dietetics. He is the secretary of the Culinary Club, and his walkout song is Here Comes Your Man by the Pixies. So my thanks to both Jakayla and Madison for their help today with this event. And I'm so grateful for y'all to be here. Now, secondly, we are recording today's event, if you didn't notice, so just heads up on that. We're recording it so that our online students have access to the recording at a later date and something that's convenient for them. Third, please make sure you sign in by going to the virtual sign-in sheet link that will be dropped into the chat box soon. And just fill out your name, your dog tag number, and this is a way for us to kind of keep our records straight. And also several professors and instructors are offering some form of extra credit for attending today. So make sure you get that there. And then let's see, today's format's going to be a little bit different than before. For those of you who are more used to the panel sessions that we have, Andy has agreed to be in the hot seat as I ask him questions about his life, his career, and we're just going to dive in and get some really great insights as he shares all about his business tonight. And to that end, if you have any questions as we're going that you want to ask Andy, please feel free to drop those questions into the chat box where Jakayla and Madison will be monitoring them to make sure that as we get to the Q&A portion, we don't forget to ask them. So, that was a lot of announcements, but all right, please help me virtually welcome our guest today, Andy. Hi, Andy. Woo. So, we're
Hey,
going to start off with something
everybody.
easy. You ready,
Yes.
Andy?
I don't have
Okay,
a
so
walkout song yet. So
you'll get there. It's a question that we tend to ask. So, all right.
yeah.
So let's start off with something easy to get
hmm
the creative juices flowing. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, and which college
Uh-huh.
did you attend?
So I grew up in Taiwan. It's in this city called Kaohsiung. It's a port city on the south side of Taiwan. Um, I I was there until I finished middle school. Came over to the States, went to high school in California. And then afterwards came to NYU. um my initial major was liberal studies, and then it changed multiple times, but yeah, ended up here in NYU.
Awesome. So, what was it like moving to the US to attend high school?
hmm
I mean, high school is still pretty young age.
yeah. How old was I? 13. um in the beginning it was kind of rough because I went to boarding school, and my parent my family, all my friends, they all stayed back in Taiwan. So in the beginning it was kind of intimidating coming to a new place all by myself. But I have to admit, there was a part of myself who was like, wow, I finally have all this freedom. Um, but homesickness was definitely was a big part that freshman year of high school. Then as time went on, I kind of got used to it. Um, I went from going back 4 times a year to three to two. Now my parents make me go back once a year.
I see. So, were there any restaurants or specific food that you just couldn't wait to get back to Taiwan and eat during those kind of summers and winter breaks that you had when you first
Mhm.
started moving to the US for school?
So the one thing that comes to mind is actually deep fried stinky tofu.
Oh,
And
no.
for those of you who don't know what stinky tofu is a Taiwanese delicacy where they essentially ferment tofu in to put it very bluntly, like almost rotting vegetable juices to give it a funky taste and smell to it.
Funky.
They then uh, directly into the deep fryer, naked fry it, and then pair it with some chili garlic sauce, and that's what I crave every time I go back.
Oh my goodness. I to this
Yes.
day that smell is so
Uh-huh.
memorable. I wasn't a huge fan. I did try it a couple of times.
Right.
Each time it got a little bit better, but oh, the smell, I just really wasn't into it. So,
But
all right.
we did used to serve stinky tofu at our restaurant, but we discontinued it because
Not
people are
so
saying
popular.
people are asking like, what is that smell in the restaurant? Is it coming from the restroom? So we're like, okay, never mind. Getting this out of the menu.
It is a delicacy. It is very popular in
Yes.
Taiwan, but I can see how it may not be a restaurant bestseller. So,
Oh,
all
100.
right. A year before you graduated from undergrad, you started
Yes,
managing a friend's restaurant. Did you have any
correct.
experience prior to that in the food industry?
No, not at all. What my mother, she used to own two restaurants, right? So, but I never really, because I was away during high school, I never really helped her out, helped out in the restaurant. So no, zero experience.
Okay, so going to your mom, she had
Yes,
two restaurants, but other than
correct.
that, did you have any role models or mentors in your life that kind of pointed you like, hey, restaurants, food, this is a great
Uh-huh.
calling for you?
No, if anything, most other than my business partner and my wife, not everybody's a hyperbole. My parents were saying no. This is a because my mom knows firsthand what it's like to run a restaurant, and she was like, no, that's like the margins are so thin, the work hours are crazy. You should just go into something else. So didn't really have a role model in the food industry. Other than the fact that my mom cooked amazing food. Um, but yeah, like all indications were pointing towards me opening a restaurant being a bad idea rather than a good idea.
Bad idea. Okay, so
Yes.
even though pointing towards bad idea,
Yes.
graduation comes about. You're a
Uh-huh.
new young graduate. You
Yes.
were going into the public relations fields, but
Yes.
guess what? Bad idea or not, you and a
Mm-hmm.
business partner decided to open a
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. What was going through your mind?
So I need to preface this. So I went into NYU as liberal studies. Um, I got denied by Stern. So NYU was like, hey, why don't you try liberal studies for 2 years and we'll see from there. So I went from that to I was an econ major for a year, and then I switched over to it's called media culture and communications major, intending to get into public relations. Um, and and man, during that time, I just realized that wow, like the PR industry is full of people who are way too enthusiastic about things that they don't care about. So if I had to hear another, oh my God, that's so interesting, I was gonna slap somebody. So so and for a while after graduation, I went back into test prep for a little bit. Um, doing a little bit of college counseling for high school students looking to get into college. So I did that for a few months, and then my business partner Eric came to me. He's like, "Yo, this restaurant, it's deciding to shut down. We have this prime location at St. Mark's Place, which is a very foot traffic heavy street. He's like, hey, we've talked about opening something together. Let's do it now. At the time, I don't know if you know these YouTubers, but the Funk Bros actually approached us to open up a restaurant together. So we're like, oh yeah, we'll do the restaurant operations. They can do the outreach and such. However, one day after the contract signing, they pulled out. So it's just us now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of us who haven't had business partners before, sounds like you could give a little bit of advice here. What
Mhm.
advice would you give to people considering to going into business, with a partner or partners in this case?
Yeah. Well, if I do think that if you're looking for a business partner, assuming now you're just by yourself, you're looking for to find a business partner, I would say find somebody who you work well with, right? You have to there has to be mutual respect, and just plainly you have to like the guy, like the person, or else like long-term business relationships wouldn't work. And another part of it is, look for somebody to complement your skill set. Essentially, my business partner now, Eric, he runs the kitchen. I run the front of house. I run service. So he was good at the kitchen thing. I was good at managing the front and doing and like setting up businesses and government licensing. So we have and we trust in each other's ability to do these things. So yeah, I think that finding somebody who complements your skill set is probably one of the most important factors when you're first looking for a business partner.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry to cut you off, but
Oh no, keep
Eric and I,
going.
we were a little bit unique in the sense that he also went to NYU, 2 years older than me. So we were friends first, and we and then so we knew we liked each other and we can work with each other and respected each other. He graduated first, opened up a restaurant with his ex business partners that we don't work with anymore. And that was when, and I was like, oh man, my friend opened a new restaurant. I don't know what I want to do. Let me go help out. And that's how we started.
So originally you actually started off by helping in Eric's restaurant,
Correct.
the one that he opened with other business partners. Okay.
Yes.
And then y'all came together, signed that
Mhm.
contract to start a new
Mhm.
restaurant. So what was the name of the new restaurant?
The name of the new restaurant is 886. Um, it's called 886 because it's the dial number for Taiwan. When you have to make international calls, you put in plus 886. Got into trouble a few times because we called it a country code, but that's a conversation for a different time.
A little trouble because of the country code. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So now I'm very curious. What
Mhm.
does a manager, or in this case, a restaurant co-founder, do?
Mhm.
Like, what is exactly your role? You're listed
Right.
as the co-founder of 886, but you also
Mhm.
manage it. So what does this look like juggling through your day?
Because we're a small business, in two restaurants now. The team is still relatively small. Most of the employees are hourly pay, so there's not a lot of salary people, which means that a lot of the things that has to be done you do by yourself, right? Um, for my job, I have to figure out government licensing, stuff like that, how to um, I do front of house, so it's a lot of server management, the menus and how the restaurant looks, and it even goes to little things like store maintenance. I was just out patching a hole a few days ago with sheet metal and nails. So you wear a lot of hats. But the beauty of it is that you get to learn a lot of things, because I went into opening this restaurant with minimal restaurant experience, and so I had to learn on the way. For me, it's fun because it never gets boring. Um, it, it only gets boring if it's smooth, right? But you know, I learned a lot of things like the like the construction of the stores, the piping system. I had to learn all of that because like because I was the one responsible maintaining it.
So for us who don't quite know what 886
Hmm.
looks like, the layout, the size, how many
Hmm.
tables or how many customers do you tend to have in a night?
So pre-pandemic when we only have
Yeah,
our in-game studio,
pre-pandemic.
we yeah, pre-pandemic we have 15, right?
Okay.
But the silver lining of the pandemic is that there's outdoor seating now, and the street that we're on, it closes off on weekends. So we went from 15 seats to 32 with outdoor dining now. So we went from a maximum capacity of about 40 to 50 to now we can seat over 90, including
Wow.
outdoors.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So how was business pre-pandemic, say October, December,
Mhm.
2019? Because we're going to be setting the stage to what happened
Okay. Yes.
next. So
2019, it was good. It was our second year of opening, right? So we so so at this point right now, 2022, we've actually this shop has been in the pandemic longer than it has been out of like before that, because we were only open for a week and a year and a half prior to the pandemic. And business was good, we Monday through Sunday, we had the restaurant filled. People were having a good time. When it really started to dip was 2020 January, I believe. Dead center of winter. People were hearing things from overseas on how there's a new virus, and much of our customer base are Asian, so they took precautions earlier. So restaurants like ours, with a majority of Asian customers, saw a dip in people coming in. Yeah.
So, okay, pandemic hits, New York restaurants
Yes.
start to shut down. What did you and Eric decide to do at this point? Because at this point, it's just kind
Hmm.
of like, do we stay
Right.
open? What do we do? We
Hmm.
can't really serve anything. You hadn't quite gone to outdoors. So, what was that conversation like?
Right. So when New York City mandated all business to shutter, we shut down. Obviously, we actually shut down like 2 or 3 days beforehand. And Eric and I, we were my business partner and I, we were like kind of down, sulking. But I can't take credit for what happens next, because my wife and my best friend, who was visiting from LA, they sat me down. They're like, are you just gonna close and do nothing? Like you're responsible for so many people. You can't just put your hands up and be like, oh, I don't know what to do, and that sparked me talking to my business partner. And I was like, let's just do deliveries for now, you know. We don't want our employees to come in because it's dangerous. So let's just be me and you. You cook, I'll pack. I will also take orders from online, and we'll deliver these. Um, so that's what happened for a few days. Him in the kitchen whipping up food, me packaging outside, and people just Venmoing us money to get a meal delivered to their home.
So, okay, at
Yes.
that point, how many staff members did you approximately have prior to the shutdown?
Prior to the shutdown, we had 2023. because we're a smaller restaurant.
Mhm. And
And then shut down, and then we told everybody to stay home.
how was that having to, talk to your
Hmm.
staff, the people that,
Right.
kind of your work family?
You know, they were a part of the discussion this whole time, whether we should open or close. We would talk to them. We'd be like, hey, I know this is kind of scary. What do you guys want? What do you guys want to do? If you guys don't want to, if you guys are worried about the virus and want to stay home, we're fine with closing. If you guys want to work because you need the money, we'll stay open. And we kind of we had a consensus to shut down the restaurant. Yeah, like I said, 2 days before the New York mandate, because it was getting kind of dicey. So there wasn't really a sad or angry sentiment. It was just everybody talking to each other, trying to make this whole thing work.
So, okay, so I know that you mentioned that your wife and your best friend well, your best friend was visiting and you had that
Yes.
discussion and that kind of sparked the delivery
Yeah.
side of things. But how long
Yeah.
were you actually closed from that time where you kind of were like, okay, the
Uh-huh.
family has spoken, the staff, we're gonna close for now.
Right. I think it must have been like 2 to 3 days, 3 to 4
Wow.
days.
Okay.
I can't remember. Um, so yeah, we were having dinner, and they're like, you should just do delivery. And I was like, it's not worth it. Like people like if I want to hire people back, that's not even enough. Like I don't think that there's gonna be enough like traffic for us to warrant opening.
So
Um, mhm.
pre-shuttering, did 886 offer delivery?
Yes, we ordered. We were on ordering platforms like DoorDash, Uber Eats,
Hmm.
Grubhub, Seamless.
Okay.
But we didn't have our own delivering person. It was always their delivery person.
Okay.
So yeah, so we had no way of delivering things to people. And on those platforms, you got to order off of a menu that we were serving at the restaurant. But during the pandemic, when we did delivery to people's homes during the shutdown, we actually did bento boxes where it was like it was just pre-portioned, a side of rice, protein, and veggies. We had a vegetarian version, we had a meat version, and those were your only two choices for the day. And I remember people were ordering because the only things open were supermarkets at the time. I think all restaurants shuttered just to be safe. So every day in the morning at, I want to say 11, because it's been a while. 11 people, we will post out, hey, this is what we're cooking today. Let us reach out to us if you want any food. And at the time, because our front of house staff was all right with, because they were mostly part-time people, so they had um they either had other sources of income or people to rely on during the pandemic. But our kitchen staff, they didn't have any benefits. they they were out of work, and we were the only source of income. So we're like, screw it, we're gonna sell these bentos, and we're gonna give all proceeds to them.
Yeah. So in the video by Vice's Munchie, it was
Yes.
mentioned that it was incredibly important to you and your business partner that the proceeds from kind of operating takeout and delivery go back to your staff.
Mhm.
So in this case, how many people are we talking about?
So
Because you
the
broke it down
proceeds,
more of
yes,
serving and
right.
versus like the kitchen. So
So the kitchen had about eight people. That sounds right. 8 people. Um, and yeah, everything that we sold, we gave to them. Um,
So
it was like
doing
we had to like cut a little bit. We weren't able to pay the full amount of their weekly paycheck, but we gave them like 80% of it to be like, hey, here like here's here's what we made. Um, so yeah, just we just had them take it because they had nowhere else to look to.
And were there ever times that y'all were concerned about, keeping 886 afloat?
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry.
So during this time, was there ever a
Right.
point where you were concerned, like, how are we going to keep 886 afloat and, solvent in this
Mm-hmm.
case? Because I mean, you still had rent for your,
Right.
your location, you had other things too. It
Yeah.
didn't just stop.
It was rough, but I know that it has been like 2 years removed from the pandemic, but I think I like I I I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I was like, I think people forget how scary the initial shutdown was in the city. It was like the city was dead. Nobody outside. People were generally scared. So I think at that time I wasn't really thinking about like, wow, what's gonna happen to our business, rather what was gonna happen to my employees. Because the business stuff, I mean, we there's nothing else we can do. You know what I mean? Uh, we're a restaurant. We make money by having customers walk through that door. So having like not being able to do that kind of kind of how do I say this, kind of like took away the option for us to think about the restaurant, because we won't be able to do anything anyways. So all in our heads, all we wanted to do was take care of the people who work so hard for our business.
So these bento boxes, you started kind of
Yes.
posting, hey, this is the menu, this is what we've got for the two options or the couple of options that
Yeah.
we're offering today. So how many orders are we talking about daily now?
So in the very beginning, when we started doing these bento boxes, it because because um because it was only my business partner Eric cooking, the quantity was we couldn't rack up like a large quantity of bentos. We had at most like 80 to 100 bentos a day. Not even that much. Maybe about like 70 to 80 bentos a day. And we would start selling at 12, sell out by 12:10.
Oh, 10
Um,
minutes.
yeah. Um, it was a lot of friends, a lot of customers who have come to our shop who like really loved us, that like wanted to show support. We used Instagram a lot during the pandemic as our platform to speak to everybody. We let everybody know that all proceeds are going to the kitchen staff. And then yeah, people were ordering. Um, and then I believe it was I don't think it was even a week. I think it was like the Wednesday or Thursday the next week. Um, because at this point, well, when we were selling bentos, we receive payment through Venmo, right? So so people were just Venmoing us money, and then we'll bring the food to them, or they can come pick up. Either way. So there was this customer who's been to our restaurant. He wasn't even in New York. He was in Washington D.C., I believe. So he saw what we were doing, and he Venmoed us $50, which was 5 meals, prepackaged meals, and he told us to give it to people who need it, right? And then that I've been managing that restaurant for a year and a half, 2 years now, and I've met many customers, but I haven't met him before. My business partner hasn't met him before. So he came in during a time when but neither of us were there, so we don't know who this guy is. He Venmos 50. Is like, thank you for what you're doing. Please give this to somebody in need. And actually, I got to meet him 2 weeks ago, first time. He
Wow.
was visiting the city, and I got to meet him. A very chill guy. I I shoved a lot of alcohol into his face, and then he went on to run a half marathon hungover.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's sober
that's
naturally.
fine.
But
Yeah,
okay,
naturally,
so
yes,
he wasn't even in the city at the time, and
correct.
he Venmos and orders this. How did this like? Were there other people who started doing this?
So so I like our bento and meal donation program during the pandemic really, like, we were really lucky because a lot of things had to go right in the sequence and the timing that it went for us to be able to do that. So Troy, the guy who Venmoed us $50 to give to people in need, um the day he did that, a friend of mine, she worked at a hospital uptown, and during that time, like, the hospitals were overwhelmed. um they like maxed out capacity everywhere. They were still dealing with the virus that nobody knew what was going on. They were doing stressful, like, 12, 13 hours, sometimes even more shifts. So the doctors were like very worn out and spread very thin. And so she came in to pick up some food for herself. And I was like, hey, we have these 5 bentos. Somebody donated this. Would uh, do do your coworkers or does anybody in the hospital need it? Um, and then she's like, oh my God, thank you. Yeah, we'll take it. So and then afterwards, we thanked our the donor, and then we posted it on Instagram saying that, hey, we did this. This is amazing. And then donations just started pouring in because we were one of the first ones to do this to do this kind of doctor meal donation kind of thing, back when the pandemic was still in its early stages. I think after the first 2 days, and then I asked my friend at the hospital. I was like, "Do you guys need more? Right? Like, how bad is it? Do you guys need more?" And a lot of the media and a lot of people during the pandemic, they like to, not they like to, but they usually focus on the bleak aspect of the pandemic, right? No, don't get me wrong, it was a horrible time, but what I like to highlight is that the kindness and the the kindness that came out of out of everybody who were helping each other out. And our first day of accepting donations, we received like $10,000 just to Venmo. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, and that, like, if you do the math, that equates to 1,000 prepackaged meals, right?
Okay, so I can do the math.
So
There are only two of you.
yeah,
How are you going to keep up with
yes,
all these orders
exactly.
now?
So so that first delivery to so okay, so and then after that day, we only had the capacity to do 100 max a day, right? So after we got those donations, the first day we delivered to the hospital that my friends work at. And at that time, we didn't have a car either because we didn't have a delivery person. We had no mode of transportation. So I actually delivered to the hospital via Uber. So, and then delivered over there, came back, and to news saying that one of my friends donated their car to, like, let us use. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. Um, and then and then we started posting the jobs at hospitals, and then everybody started to get in. Um, uh, so we were doing like 100 meals a day at first, and then our kitchen guys saw what we're doing, and they're like, hey, let's come back. Hey, well, okay, is it okay if we come back and help? And at first it was just one or two, because we were very we were still worried. Like Eric and I we were going to hospitals all day, so and I got COVID at the end of March of 2020. But they're like, yeah, we would love to come back and help. A lot of my front of house staff came back and started and to try to help to packaging the food. Um, and yeah, by when everybody started to come back, we were cranking out like close to maybe 1,000 meals a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but at the same time, there's a lot of hospitals in New York, right? Um, so the demand was definitely there. Every day during the pandemic, I was essentially cold calling doctors and be like, hey, I'm doing this. Do you guys need food? And then once a doctor said, yeah, we love it, they'll be like, hey, I have a friend in this hospital and this hospital. So I would be cold calling doctors to be like, hey, we have food, we'll bring it to you. Um, because because at the time when their ICU beds were overflowing, they had to set up quarantine pods in the ICU units, so that if a doctor goes in to treat patients, he or she cannot come out
Mm.
until the end of the shift, because it was worried that there's gonna be like there's a worry that's super contagious, and that that doctor might pass it to somebody else. So we're like, okay, we have these prepackaged meals. You guys can bring it inside, and you guys can have lunch or have food during your 13-hour shift.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're pumping out, thousands, well, 1,000 a day practically.
yeah.
Now, did you still have your online ordering capabilities up, or at this point were you kind of diverting your efforts to utilizing, your connections through hospitals and
Mhm.
donating food?
Uh, we weren't open on the delivery platforms. I think one of the reasons why it was because they also shut down for a bit,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because at that point, our restaurant was the only thing open, like in blocks,
Mm.
minus the supermarkets, minus the liquor store, which it was deemed an essential business. I know
So
for a fact that for me it was very essential, but um
that's a different story, Andy.
that's a
Rein it
different
in.
story. That's a different story.
So, okay, so
Yes,
talking about the donations,
yes,
just in a couple of days, you got some
mhm,
large amount, being
yeah,
Venmoed to you. So,
yes,
thinking about this period of time, what
right.
roughly, if you know, how much money was donated for, bento boxes for hospitals and like these essential workers?
So so we've I want to think. I think it was in a span of a month and a half to 2 months. We received about $127,000 in donations. So that is about 12,000 meals. Um, we we delivered to about 30 something hospitals. The quantity got so large per day that we invited two other restaurants on board to to make bentos for us, essentially. Um, and then we would give them $10 per bento box, so that their employees were able to get some money as well. Um, so in the end, it was about, yeah, 127 across 30 something restaurants. And we also donated to shelters. We also donated to to churches that did community service work, just handing out food on the streets. Um, so yeah, that it's about that number.
Wow. Okay, so you were able to actually the volume of bento boxes
Right.
needed to you actually started working with other restaurants. Were these like your neighboring restaurants or um how did you choose them?
Oh, how did we choose them? Um, they were our friends in the industry. One was another Taiwanese restaurant that served mainly beef noodle soup, and another was a Japanese restaurant. They they were our friends, and I've been telling people like if it was them, they'll do the same for us. So
Wow. So, okay, what have you learned from this role as, coordinating food bento
Mhm.
boxes here and there? How's that
Right.
translated now to kind of post-pandemic? Have your roles changed a bit, or what are
Yeah.
you doing these
So
days?
the bento, we called it bento essential. Um, so that so so delivering to hospital lasted us probably 2 months until people started going back into restaurants, working. I mean, because I think at that point outdoor dining was coming back. Um, and then at that point everybody was sending food to the hospitals, right? We used to be the only car in the hospital driveway, where now there's like 6 or 7 every time we get to a place. And then it started getting ridiculous because the high-end sushi shops started delivering to them too. So the doctors were having omakase essentially at the hospital. So at that point I was like, okay, maybe they don't need our rice and meat and a little side of veggies. They're eating well enough. So we we stopped taking donations, and then we we gave um we gave the rest to some shelters. We also gave some to like community service groups um that was fighting Asian hate at the time. Um, because that was a whole thing with the virus, where everybody called it the Chinese virus and they were attacking people randomly. So
Excuse me.
so yeah.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah, you can. And actually, we were just about to get there if you want to hold on just a second, or you can go ahead and ask it now. It's totally cool.
That's fine.
Hi.
I'll just wait.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Okay. So, okay, as I noted,
Right.
we're coming towards the end, but I do want to
Yes.
know. Okay, so you have the
Mhm.
restaurant 886. You've kind of
Right.
shifted to now being able to do outdoor dining. And
Right.
how's it looking today, these days?
It's good. We just launched our second restaurant March
Wow,
16th. It's in
congratulations.
Brooklyn. Thank you. Um it's been going well. I've hired a general manager for the original 886, and I have a general manager here. So um other uh, and now I'm hardly ever at our 886 first location, because that's a business that's already running smoothly without me. So now I'm focusing on the second shop. We're open for like what, 2 3 weeks. um yeah, it hasn't been bad. Well, two of our chefs got COVID and had to quarantine for a week, so I jumped into the kitchen,
Ooh,
and
handy.
that, I would tell you, is very tiring physical work.
A
I get the
little bit
easy job.
different.
I get the easy job. I get to be outside and drink with customers, and they're in there sweating. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited that you were able to branch to the second location, open your
Mhm.
second location. Um, are there any other projects in the pipeline? Have you thought about, what's next? A food truck.
Man, food truck honestly sounds so fun. You like like what I would love to do is do a food truck, like just stopping in different cities, but that's just a dream, you know. But I don't know. Get this restaurant up and running. We want to start. We want to start jarring and canning our own sauces to get into supermarkets.
Wow.
We already have a product in our chili oil that we sell. Um, and yeah, the focus after this second restaurant gets up to speed. It's to work on that.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just asking out of curiosity if any of our
Yes.
students want to reach out to you. Do you
Uh-huh.
mind if I share your email address, or would you rather me
Of
share
course.
your LinkedIn?
Of
What would
course.
you?
Oh, my email
Okay.
address. Yes.
Okay,
I
awesome.
don't I never got into LinkedIn.
Don't tell the business students that.
Yeah.
Shh, students don't listen. But okay, thank you. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is, with the little bit of time that we have left, we're gonna open it up to questions, because Andy here has all sorts of, experience, exposure, and probably a story to share. So Samuel, since you actually had a question, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering, you had mentioned, the stigma of people calling it the Chinese virus.
Right.
How did the effect of that, affect your business? Did you see business, decline? Did you see
Hmm.
regulars that maybe weren't coming in as often because of,
Uh-huh.
the stigma around it?
Right. Honestly, we are very lucky, and it didn't affect us that much because a majority of our customer base is Asian. I would say about 50%.
Okay.
But but after we did the Bento campaign during the pandemic, when we delivered to hospitals, I think it was a month afterwards, a bunch of us and a few other restaurants, we came together and we we launched this campaign called Enough is Enough, where we used our platforms to address these racial violences that has been going on, and we raised money, gave it to AAPI organizations, and honestly, the local, like, Asian communities that keep the community the local groups that keep the community safe, like they started patrolling um during the nighttime, and just to make sure that, like, things didn't, like, escalate to violence.
Awesome. Thank you for taking
Yeah,
time to answer that.
you're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other questions? That was a great question, and thank you for sharing that, Andy.
Mhm.
Let's see. If y'all don't have questions, you know my thing. I start calling on you, so.
Wait. This is a class?
It's not a
Oh man.
real class here, but I can call on a few. But okay, let's see. All right, here we go. We're gonna start
I have a
with.
question.
Oh, look at there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to New York soon, and I just want to know
Uh-huh.
where's it located at?
Oh, where is it
Oh.
located at?
Yeah.
It's on St. Mark's Place, so that's 8th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. Have you been to New York?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's St. Mark's Place between 2nd and 3rd Avenue.
We can
Okay.
give
And
you
then also,
locations, don't worry.
and
Yeah.
also, since I never really tried that type of like country of food, what do you
Right.
suggest for me to try?
Mm.
Um, wow. So well, I'm gonna go into my server pitch now. So as you can see on the menu, there is a lo bun, which is a braised pork belly dish, braised pork belly over rice. Classic Taiwanese food, easily our bestseller, and the and then there's the beef noodle soup. That's also another classic Taiwanese dish. Hakka stir fry, where it's tofu stir fry with Chinese celery and pork. Um, but for the 886 location, one of my favorite things there is actually the chicken sandwich, the fried chicken sandwich, because that came from in in McDonald's in Taiwan. I don't remember when the chicken sandwich started here in the States, but in Taiwan there's they had this spicy chicken sandwich over there, and they always use this like shitty bun that like fell apart when you like touch it. But so yeah, we fry like a whole big piece of chicken leg, and then put it, and then like it's like double the size of the bun, so it's very fun to eat.
Oh, nice. Look forward to trying it.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
So we have a question in the chat. What was
Yes.
the most rewarding thing or experience you learned through running your business during the pandemic?
The most rewarding experience thing, you know, mm, much. I'm guessing. I'm guessing that this question is not specifically to the bento delivery stuff, but through because the pandemic has been what 2 years and some change now. The most rewarding thing, seeing the city come back to life. You know, we went from delivery only to outdoor dining, to indoor dining, to both. Last year during the summer, when there was outdoor dining on our street on St. Mark's Place, it's very rowdy, and everybody was sick of the lockdown, and so we had about 16 seats outside, so people were eating, and then this U-Haul truck drives up, right? And then we're like, why is there a U-Haul truck on the street? It opens up, there was a DJ booth there, started blasting music. Within like, I want to say 10-15 minutes, like the tables at our restaurant was surrounded by people. And like just watching how the city just come back to life, that was probably the most rewarding experience. Running the business, of course.
That is very memorable. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have other questions for Andy? Anyone? Questions for Andy? All right. If we don't have a question, I do have a question, but this is
Right.
because I lived in Taiwan. So
Yes.
being that this is a Taiwanese American restaurant, did you have to
Yes.
adapt what we consider, ancient Taiwanese recipes to the American
Yeah.
taste?
Well, so here's the thing, right? I hate the word authentic or authenticity, right? If somebody said, "Oh man, your food was so authentic," I would be like, "No, it's not. We're not trying to be authentic. We're putting our own twist on Taiwanese food. It's food that my business partner Eric, he's also Taiwanese. Him and I, we ate growing up, and what we like to eat. So so you asked whether we had to like cater to like the Western taste. We didn't intentionally do that, but throughout our lives, right, we've both lived in both places, Taiwan and here, so our own tastes have also changed. So and the nostalgia that the food gave us when we went back to Taiwan, because we had to constantly fight back and forth, right? And I tell people that my nostalgia for Taiwan almost feels like it's frozen in place, because I always have like the memory of the food back there of when I was young, but it can't always be like that. So what we do is we adjust it a little bit according to what we like, and then we serve it to the customers.
Awesome. Okay, well, if y'all don't have any more questions, I'll wrap for tonight. If you're curious or interested in reaching out to Andy, you can email me, drop by my office. I'll give you his contact information. But Thank you so much, Andy, for sharing what was amazing experience.
Mhm.
I'm really, really grateful that you had the time and you couldn't resist an old friend. And so I really,
Uh-huh.
really thank you for investing
Yeah.
in our students tonight and staff, faculty who joined us. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for making this event a priority. And all right, everyone, that pretty much concludes tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. Bye.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.